Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. For those of you I haven't met yet, my name's Tim from the customer success team here at Solutions Plus. My role is to work closely with our customers to make sure the systems they're investing in are actually delivering value for them day to day and not just at go live. I'm joined today by two great people from our team, Matt and Caleb. Matt works closely with organizations on strategy and solution design and helping businesses understand what the right fit looks like. Caleb, who I've managed to leave off his title on here, a solution architect. Apologies, Caleb. He brings the technical depth, and he's going to walk us through the live side of Dynamics 365 sales today so that you can see how it works in practice. Today isn't about like a hard sell or a feature dump or anything like that. It's more about helping you understand where Dynamics 365 sales genuinely fits, who it's for, and where it might not be the right answer. We'll show you a little bit of what it looks like in action, including Copilot, to give you a practical sense of how it could support your sales teams. By the end of today, you should have a really clear idea of whether this is something that's worth exploring further for your business or not quite the right fit. With that sort of said, let's dive in. I'll hand over to you first, Matt.
Awesome. Thanks, Tim, and appreciate everyone joining us or watching this recording. So in terms of just a bit of context, so my background for the last 10 years has been in the CRM space, and particularly when it comes to D365 sales, it's often a misunderstood platform. And that is because many different businesses define CRM as a different thing in terms of the features that it may require and in terms of how it works within the business. So I just wanted to clarify, when we jump in and we have a look, particularly at D365 sales, it works really well in businesses that have more complex sales cycles. There might be multiple stakeholders involved. There might be further integrations or workflow automations that need to happen within the platform. So it's not built for people that are out on the road. It's more of a desk-based CRM, or when we're looking at, particularly construction, non-for-profit, anything that's requiring a multi-stage workflow or opportunity management, it fits really, really well for. And I think it's important to make that distinction that D365 sales is a CRM, but it is a CRM platform. And therefore, the beauty of this product is that you can build it based on the nuance and complexity within your business. So I just sort of wanted to clarify that because there is some confusion sometimes as to where this product fits in market, but really it is for organizations that do require more of a bespoke feel to how the CRM needs to work without having a heavily customized system. So some of the things that we'll talk about, and Tim, I might get you to flick to the next slide, is also the integration into Copilot. So there's a lot of talk in AI in the market at the moment, and Microsoft is really starting to leverage this technology across all of its different M365 apps. But when we start to look at Microsoft D365 sales, the interconnectivity between Outlook, Teams, emails, ERP, all of these sort of come together to give you a really well-rounded 360-degree view of your customers, your team, and anything else within your business that relates to the sales or opportunity function. So just by way of example, before we pass over to Caleb for a live demo of this, Tim, I might just get you to flick to one slide. One of the examples that we're seeing with our current customer base at the moment is the ability to integrate their call function into actions. So what might happen is there might be a BDM or a sales representative that's on the phone with a customer. Within this platform, we're now able to integrate that call, transcribe it through Teams. We're able to analyze the sentiment, but we're also automatically able to set action items and get a real sense for where we are in the sales cycle in terms of that opportunity. So yes, you can use external note takers and you can copy and paste it into GPT and do all the rest of it. But I think there's really something to be said here when we're looking at a fully integrated solution that takes the communication we have with our customers or stakeholders and turns it into actionable points where we can actually further progress our opportunities. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pass over to Caleb, and we're going to actually have a look at this in real time. So Caleb, over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Let me just get my notes up. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, good to go.
Cool. All right, so I'm just starting within the dashboards area, and I've created a dashboard called My Work. So you can see here, I've set up quite a few views within this dashboard under my open leads, my open opportunities, my queue new leads unassigned here. And then I've also got this view here called My Active Email Messages. So if I load up this email here, now this view is directly connected to my Solutions Plus mailbox. So it's feeding in emails that are related to my Dynamics 365 contacts, putting them in this view, okay? Now, if we look at this email here, it looks like they're reaching out for a pretty big bulk order. So there's a few things I can do with this email. What I'm going to do to start with is I'm just going to select the 3 dots, select add to queue. I'll look for my queue here, and I'm going to send it to my new leads queue. So this is essentially taking it out of my active email messages and putting it into a queue. And a queue is essentially a shared view. And you can basically specify what users have access to this view, right? So for example, I've got my new email message here, my new queue item. If I select that, I can choose to route it. So if I'm an admin, I can basically say who I want to be working on this item. So select route. That's going to get sent to Bassam's view now, and he's going to get a notification as well that that's in his queue. But for this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to go ahead and pick that one again. Pick. And now you can see it's assigned back to me. So if I load this again, it just loads up that email. Now within this email, I can choose to convert it to something actionable, right? So I can choose to convert it to an opportunity, to a case, or to a lead. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to convert it straight to an opportunity, all right? Gives me details of that opportunity, who the customer is, so that Bradley Bill contact. What happened in the moment is it will create a new opportunity record, okay? So I've taken that email and now we've created an opportunity. The email associated that triggered it all will now be in the actual timeline, okay? And it'll be with the associated contact there, okay? Now, what you can do is you can start working through the business process flow here, okay? But before we get into that, what I might actually do is let's just load up the Bradley Bill contact. So let's have a look in our interactions with this contact and how our relationship is going. So again, we have the timeline view here that will track all activities and correspondence that we have with this record. So now that we're in the contact, we can see there's some phone calls, there's that email that we got, some previous phone calls. But you can see on the right-hand side here, we've also got relationship health, which is good and steady. If we're going to get further analytics around that, if I select the relationships analytics tab here, what it does is it comes up with metrics specifying how much time we've invested into interacting with this customer and how much time they've interacted back. And you can see that in this chart here, such as emails sent by us, emails sent by them, meetings, phone calls, etc. And then you can convert that to how much hours were spent by us, how many hours were spent by them. There's also email engagement as well, so we can track the percentage of emails that they've opened from us. Okay. I think the coolest thing about this tab is this little relationship activities view here, which sort of gives us an overview of different dates and different activities that were sent on these dates. Okay. Now, if I go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, I think an important note here, Caleb, when we talk about the types of organizations that are using D365 sales is that it's more slanted towards relationship sales. It's not, hey, we want to buy 3 of these and we go. It's really when we're looking at a longer, more complex sales cycle where we actually need to manage and understand the relationship with these customers. There might be multiple stakeholders that we're engaging with and multiple threads happening to actually get the sale over the line. And that's where there's a lot of value in seeing it in that particular way.
100%. And obviously the idea is once you've qualified a customer and their corresponding contacts, is you want to build that relationship. So it might start with an initial lead that can convert to an opportunity and order and so on, but you want to build that from time and create more opportunities, more orders, right? And you get to track all that within Dynamics 365. Another thing I just wanted to highlight here was the highlights little spiel here. So this is automatically generated by Copilot, and it gives you a summary of recent activities. So you can see here, the client is planning an office refresh and relocation, seeking quotes for these products. And that was just generated from the email that we've converted to an opportunity, right? Now, let's have a look at the actual account that they're corresponding with. So they're corresponding with the Sapin account. Again, when we load up the account record, we now have a timeline view for the actual account. So we can see all the interactions with different contacts that correspond to this account. Just like the highlights, there's also now a summary Copilot generated summary here, which gives us details on this account. So for example, it will give you details such as the closed opportunities total worth, last successful opportunity was this, what it was worth, and then gives you other figures such as we've successfully closed 11 opportunities with them so far of a total 28. Okay, and this will continue to populate and change based on the data being changed within the system. Right. Another cool thing about the accounts record is the org chart view. So if I select open org chart, I might zoom in for a second here. You can see there's this little circle going around there. This will quickly show me what the actual relationship health is with the different contacts, right? So we can see that with Caleb Nixon is up the top here. Our relationship is poor and steady. Again, the Bradley Beal contact we were in before is good and steady. So this just gives you another quick overview of all the contacts associated to an account. You can also tag contacts as well. So someone might be a blocker, an influencer, a decision maker, you can tag it here. You can also associate sales notes as well. You can see here, you put in your seller notes, and back, in 2025, Luca was a new high, right? So let me just go back. So now that we have more of an understanding of this contact and the associated account, we can start to work through the actual opportunity. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start by identifying the account. We know it's Sapin. I'm going to put in purchase time frame, the estimated budget, so 45,000. And again, what's critical to note here is that the business process flow and these sort of mandatory, non-mandatory fields, depending on the different stage, that's going to be a business decision. So it's very important to understand what you want this actual process to look like and then translate that. And then we can translate that within Dynamics 365, right? Another sort of example of what I mean by that is you'll see here now that there's been a phone call activity created under initial call for this opportunity, right? So that is a automation that I've created that basically says whenever an opportunity is created, schedule in an initial call that's due in 7 days after creation, okay? Another way to sort of, just before we work through further on this opportunity, I just wanted to highlight another way to sort of track your work and to-do list. So we looked at the dashboard initially, but another way to sort of track your to-do list regarding different activities is the sales accelerator here. So this will host all your different activity types, whether it be tasks, whether it be tasks relating to opportunities. And if it is a task relating to opportunities, you'll see that it will also highlight the opportunity score as well, right? So maybe for ones that have a lower score, those are going to be high priority to get on top of. You got your appointments, phone calls like we just saw, etc. Right? So I just thought that was key to highlight. But if we go back, so if we continue to work through this opportunity, you go to the next stage. You put in customer need. Again, you can put it in from the business process flow, or I can do copy it here, right? And it'll populate there.
And it's probably worth noting at this point too, Caleb, that obviously we've set this up in a certain way, and really what we're showing today is sort of slanted towards, a construction style business. But the reality is that because this is the underlying platform, you could have as many or as little fields within these particular process. So you can make it really fast, but I know for a lot of businesses, the challenge is actually pre-qualification, particularly when you're bidding on certain projects. So to be able to have that rigor around that and then report on it and say, well, we've bidded on this percentage of projects that came under these particular fields. Should we then do that in the future, which is a challenge that most businesses face, and you can't always get the rigor in the CRM to actually get that data accurate and make those decisions.
Yeah, exactly, right. And not only can you specify how many fields or how little fields you want from each stage, you can specify how many stages you want as well. And I've had conversations with clients where they say, okay, for this type of opportunity, it needs to be 5 stages. But for this type of opportunity, it only needs to be 1 stage. So you can have multiple business process flows on an opportunity, and then based on the opportunity type it is, the business process flow will automatically change, right? So you could do things around like, depending on the budget amount or the worth of that opportunity, it has to go through different stages. So we'll look here and say, again, identify stakeholders. So we haven't done that yet. So what I might do is I'm just going to go here. We've got Bradley Beal, who is our original stakeholder, original contact. I'm just going to go to new connection. I'm going to go to here, type of records. I'm just looking for contacts. I'm going to look for my SAP contacts. We'll put Greg Smith in here. And we'll put Greg Smith in as a decision maker. Again, a lot of these are standard sort of connection roles, but again, they can be added onto as well, right? So we'll put in our stakeholder here. You can add in any competitors as well if you capture competitor information. So we're going to put in Angry Constructions, select add, and we've got our competitor in here, all right? So now I'm going to tick these as completed, and we'll go to the next stage. Now, just getting back to sort of, again, needing to align the business process flows to what you want to actually look, your actual stages to look like. A custom stage we'll put in here is an actual approval gate, okay? Because a lot of opportunities may require approval, right? So I'm going to select Run Flow. And now this is going to call a Power Automate flow. And so Power Automate is essentially Microsoft's automation tool, okay? And I've had lots of conversations around this the approval flows and how much you can sort of configure and tailor them. So it might be if an opportunity is worth a certain amount, then it needs to go to these group of approvers. If it's only worth this amount, it needs to only go to one approval. So there's numerous ways that you can actually configure approvals to match your actual requirements, right? Again, it's just understanding what you want that to actually look like within the system. So if I go now, I'm just going to load up my Teams. So it comes through in my Teams approvals. It can also come through in emails as well, right? That one's not great because I didn't actually put estimated value. So I might just load up this other one just to give you an idea. This is another one. I've got details in here about that opportunity. I've got a link to the opportunity. There's my notes there that I sent from the flow. And I've also got a document, PDF document associated with this as well. So not only can you trigger approvals linked back to the opportunity, but you can also attach documents to the actual approval as well. So this is just something I came up with this morning. It's just based off a Word template, but you can make it look as fancy as need be. And this is pulling in details directly from that opportunity, okay? Now this is relevant because you might have approvers that don't access the system that much. They don't live in that world, but they need to get a quick snapshot of what they are approving, right? Instead of having to load into a system, go through there, they can look at this PDF and say, okay, this looks all good to me, right? So if I actually, sorry.
And we might not get to it today, Caleb, but I guess one of the other key drivers behind that Power Automate or the power behind that is that in many organizations, the CRM sits off to the side from their ERP. And what we're actually saying here is that not only can those approvals be done within Teams, but if we were, for example, creating a quote in the CRM, which needed to go to a manager for approval, and then on approval that be posted into the ERP database, we can actually do those things all from this platform. So we're not having people jump into multiple systems to go through that, but we've still got the approval and the compliance aspect of ensuring that we're following the right process to get that data into our financial system of record.
Exactly, 100% right. Okay. So now we've got our approval. We've got our approval details here. Again, you can configure fields to be read-only. Obviously, around approval, we need to make them read-only, and they're only going to come back with that data based on the approval results. But now that's approved, we can go to our next stage. Okay. One thing as well, in terms of opportunities, you can start adding products to opportunities. Okay. So if I select my price list as S+, I select add products. I'm just going to start adding in some products here. This one, all right. To my opportunity. And now that's come through to the grid here, I can start updating the quantities as see fit. So I can do 12 here, 40. Now I can have discounts associated with that as well. So I might say, I can give them 20, etc. So pretty standard functionality in terms of adding opportunity products and all that. But now that we have our opportunity products, what we can do is, if I just go back actually, before I move on to quoting, again, estimated revenue, you can make it so, you hard code that, or in this case, we've got a business rule running in the background that takes the pre-freight amount and auto populates the estimated revenue there based on the products added. Okay. Now, as I create a new quote, has there been any questions or anything like that come through at all?
No? Not as yet, Caleb, so you can
all good.
kick on.
Keep kicking on. That's all good. Okay. So now we've created a quote from our opportunity. You can see the details of that opportunity actually coming through, such as the quote products, right? I'm also going to refresh this because in a moment, 2 seconds, we have our address details that have come through here. All right. And so what I can do from here, if I select export to PDF, you can get and then again create quote templates as needed. Again, this is all based on Word templates, and it's just pre-populating that data based on the quote that's been generated from. This one's quite basic, but we've had to make some complex ones based on requirements, right? Now, once we have our quote, it's all good, we're happy with that, we can go ahead and activate the quote. So once we've activated the quote, it's now in a read-only state. So if I want to go back and make changes to this quote at all, I'd have to revise it. And when I revise it, that's going to update this revision ID. So it keeps that quote revision history, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead now and create an order. Status reasons 1, date that's 1, and close the opportunity, okay? So I don't need to go back to the opportunity to close it, do anything like that. We've now gone from getting that original email that was interested, converting that to an opportunity, working through our business process flow, getting approval for that opportunity, creating the quote, and now creating the order. Okay, so then this is where you would look to integrate into your ERP system, whatever it is, right? And again, doing that, a lot of times we do it based on the status of the order as well. So once it's submitted, right, and in progress, then we'll go ahead and sync it across to an ERP system to handle the financial information. Any questions or any thoughts, Matt, before I move on to sort of the next phase of the demo?
I think that's quite good, Caleb. I mean, you can see here there's a lot of flexibility. So for some businesses, you might have quote templates where there's, a particular first order and we have a certain set of SKUs that need to go through. For others, you might have configurable quotes where depending on the type of products that you're selling, there might be particular variants. And therefore, again, because it's so flexible, we can really change the logic that it needs to provide to the end user. But certainly the idea here is to fit it to make it as easy as possible for your reps or your people to be able to navigate through the system. So yeah, look, I think that's good, Caleb, and noting that once the quote has gone through the financial system of record and that is approved, we can actually see other transactions. So the invoice might come through, we might be looking for a status.
Exactly.
We do have the ability to integrate those sort of things so that in one place, my customer rings up and says, hey, Matt, where's my order? It was invoiced on, the 25th of February, and here's potentially a shipping ID if that's the way that your business has been set up.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, awesome. So I guess the next phase now of the demo is around, okay, now how do we view all this information? How can we actually keep up with our opportunity pipeline and understand where we are at with our opportunities? What's likely to be won, what's likely to be lost, when's it going to close, etc. Right? So I want to start by looking at the pipeline view. So I'm at my opportunities records now. I'm going to go show as pipeline view. And so this is a standard view within Dynamics 365 Sales. Okay, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit here. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and explain this first sort of graph, right? So the gray circles are ones that have been either won or lost, okay? The ones in green means they have a good predictability score. We'll get into that in a moment. The ones in orange mean the score isn't so good. The circle size is based on the estimated revenue size, okay? So obviously the higher comparative deal size compared to others, the bigger the circle, okay? We have a line for today's date, and this is based on the estimated close date, okay? So everything on the left-hand side of this line here should have been closed previously. It was estimated to close previously, right? So we can see we have a few deals here that, were estimated closed back in December, haven't been closed yet. So this should already flag, say, hey, we need to follow up on this one, right? It's quite a big deal. Score's not great, it hasn't closed. So let's create a task, let's follow up on this one, okay? The other thing that you'll notice is these metrics at the top here. So we have pipeline value, number of deals in pipeline, won amount, lost amount, etc. Right? So if I select number of deals won, right, it gives me a full list of that as well. So if I select the list here, I can see the full list of my opportunity deals that have been won. Okay. What you can also do as well is you can create your own sort of little metrics. Okay, so I've created this one of number of deals closing soon, right? So if I go here, edit metrics, you can see create new metrics. This is my one that I've created here, okay? And it's just based on, conditions around what you set. So this one's estimated close date is the next 30 days, and the status of this opportunity is open, right? So if I select that one here, gives me a list of the ones closing soon, okay? So what I might do is I might click seconds. I'll click this one, for example. Let's go down here. And this is where we look into that opportunity predictability scoring, okay? So if I select details on this, this gives me the score improvers and score harmers. And this is configured in the back end, and you need 41 opportunities and 40 lost opportunities, and then the data model is sort of created, right? This isn't just based on standard fields though. So a lot of these fields in here, such as build classification, is a custom field. So any sort of custom field or data that you're tracking, right, is important to your opportunities, that will automatically get fed into this model and provide predictability scoring around that. So if I hover over one, it'll give me some statistics as well. So for example, approved is yes. So 75% of opportunities approved that are yes are won, which is higher than the overall win rate of 49%, right? And again, you have a trend line over time as well. So has this improved or has it decreased over time? Okay.
Would I be right to assume here, Caleb, if we put a different hat on for a second and we sort of look at this from a non-for-profit perspective, there's different non-for-profits that we've worked with, and sometimes they'll have donors. And so would I be right to assume that we could set up some of those scores and metrics around, well, if someone hasn't donated in the last 6 months or 30 days or has engaged with an email or an EDM, that we can also create sort of a custom view of what that opportunity score looks like?
Yeah, 100% you could feed into that actual information. and look at calculating those values as well, putting that on an actual field within the opportunity. So then the opportunity can pick that up and say, hey, what's our interaction been like with this contact, right? Well, if it's been weak recently, then that can obviously affect the opportunity score. Yeah.
Awesome. So it's really based on any data that is collected and put against a certain record or a certain opportunity can theoretically be used to create some form of, opportunity scoring metric.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think I have an example off the top of my head here, but one of the things that we track on our accounts within our demo environment is just annual revenue of a customer. So say the annual revenue of a customer, the opportunity can basically pick that information up and say, hey, they've got a high annual revenue, so they're willing to spend more. So this opportunity is within their budget, it's more likely, right? So it picks up those actions. Yeah.
Cool, thank you.
I'm just looking at my notes. Okay, so the view here is actually based on the views that you create though. So the views and filters that you create, but you can then filter on top of that as well. So we might look at something like our forecast category, or we might look at, hey, I just want to look at the ones that have committed, for example, right? And it gives me the committed details, okay? Another way you can look at this as well is if I go ahead and I change my view, let's just have a look here. Sorry, I just got to find the right one. Here we go. Sorry. If I go list, I do a filter again. So I might do pipeline phase, for example. I'm going to do group by. We go ahead and estimated revenue. I'm going to do my totals. I'm going to go sum. Right. And so now it's going to give me, it's grouped it up based on that business process flow pipeline phase, and it's given me the actual total value, estimated revenue value for each of those phases. So if I expand this now, it'll then again give me the list of those opportunities in there. Okay, so that's just another way to sort of view that pipeline. Okay, what I'll do, so I'll group that, and I'll just clear that total. Another way to sort of look at that as well, though, if I go sales funnel, again, it gives me now the pipeline phase and those pipelines, right? So I can go hover over it, and it says, we've got 6 opportunities here. The value is worth 18.75%. Okay, so there's multiple ways that you can sort of track and view where your opportunities are at and the value of that actual total pipeline phase, right? Any questions before I move on to forecasts?
Go for it, Caleb. I think we've got 10 minutes left in the session, so let's jump in.
Okay, again, forecast is just another way to sort of track and manage your opportunity pipeline. But now this is specific around dates, right? So you can have many forecasts at a time. I've only got one at the moment that are between the dates of January 1st to March 31st, right? So these are the ones that have either closed, lost, or expected to close within this time frame. So if I just select this, okay, again, it gives me a full list of all these opportunities here. What I can do is I can choose to select it as a Kanban view, and then I can move these across, right? So we have quite a few in the pipeline at the moment. We say we might want to move this one to committed, drop it in there, and now the data will automatically recalculate data, and it should update the pipeline, okay? So if I go show this table again, it then just gives me a list of the opportunities within the pipeline, the estimated revenue, right? Same with committed, same with lost, etc. So again, these are the standard forecast categories, but you can add to them as need be, okay? If there's any sort of other category that you have and that you want to track, all right?
Caleb, can I ask a question? I might put you on the spot here, but when we talked about Copilot automation earlier, I believe that in screens like this as well, we can actually ask Copilot these questions and say, hey, what deals are forecast to close in the next 30 days or something like that? So if you're in a sales meeting or you're with your team to try and figure some of this information out, we don't always have to access it via that table. We can actually have more of an interactive approach to that.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just about having it available if you have the specific screen open. You can make these calls regardless of what screen you open. So even if I'm, even if I was just on a contact or something like that, I can say, please give me the list of opportunities estimated to close in the next 30 days. Okay, if I can spell. Okay, and while that's doing that, I don't need to, I can go on with my work, right? While that generates, I don't have to wait for that, So it's just giving a summary now based on what it needs to do. And it's going ahead here and giving me the full list, right? So it gives some highlight ones here that I can click, right? And it loads that opportunity straight away. But what I can do instead of that is I can select show all on a page. Okay. And it'll give me the full list of the results. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah, look, that's perfect. And I think for a lot of people, typically you are having to filter multiple fields, you have to export it to Excel, do a little bit of manipulation. So I think just being able to do that, and not just only for forecasting, but it could be for any variable within a project or opportunity, is really helpful.
Yeah.
And the fact that we can see that split view, so I can continue doing my work while I can get the information required that might feed into how I prioritize my day or my tasks.
Yeah, I mean, 100% you can set up, you can set up different views and different filters to sort of do that yourself. But there's going to be a lot of people that don't have time to do that, don't have time to configure all these different views and filters. So that's why I think it comes in to basically, have Copilot to say, hey, I just want a quick list of the opportunities that are closed in the next 14 days. And then I've got that. Okay, now I know, right? So I think that's where it really comes in. It's really helpful. Okay, the last sort of thing I wanted to show is this one here. I just wanted to show a Power BI report dashboard that's embedded into Dynamics 365. I think this is just critical because obviously with all the different sort of systems there are now, it's always appreciated when you don't have to move out of that system to access another system's information. So this is a Power BI report based on information in this Dynamics 365 environment, again, around opportunities. So I can go in here, I've got a filter here under build classification. I can specify different build classifications, and then getting, statistics around won opportunities, lost opportunities, open opportunities. Okay. So you can build, these sort of more visual dashboards in Power BI and then embed them within Dynamics 365 for you to access and view. So that's sort of the last thing I had to show today. So I guess now if anyone has any questions, then that would be a good time.
Awesome, Caleb. I haven't seen too many questions come through, so that's totally fine. We can flick it back to Tim, but I think you've done a great job at sort of looking at that full life cycle of an email coming through, all the way through to pushing that forward through a quote, potentially into the ERP, which can be invoiced, but then more holistically looking at how do we get a really, accurate and easy to digest view of where our business is currently sitting and how we want to interact with our prospects in the pipeline in that CRM fashion. So I might throw back to you, Tim.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Matt. And firstly, thank you, Caleb. Excuse me for walking us through that today. I know there's a lot under the hood, but I think that's a really cool way to give everyone sort of a practical sense of how it works day to day and not just in theory. I think on the back of what Matt said there's probably sort of three key takeaways that I had from today. First is that Dynamics 365 sales works the way that you work. It's not a system that you need to bend your processes around. It sits inside Outlooks and Teams, it captures inquiries automatically, and then connects that all the way through to your ERP. So your quotes and your orders can flow through it properly. Importantly, I think, as I mentioned, it can be configured to reflect your actual sales cycle, whether it's straightforward and fast moving or more complex with multiple stakeholders. And even if you have multiple different sales processes for different services or products that you have, the stakeholders, approvals, and the reporting requirements are all there to support your team rather than forcing it into sort of a rigid template. Second one, it actually builds governance into those complex sales cycles. So those structured stages, the approvals we talked about in Teams, is all kind of leaving an audit trail and quote revision history. You're not relying on memory or the archive folder or some sort of manual workaround to know what's happening with your deals. And third of all is kind of what Caleb looked at the end there. It kind of connects the entire commercial journey together for you and your team, right? Just from an email or a call through to an opportunity to the products to quote to order, and everything sort of flowing through that one ecosystem with really clear visibility for both the team working on it, everyone else who needs to see, and then those really cool sort of 50,000 feet views for leadership as well. So that's kind of our summary. I think if anything you've seen today resonates with you and you want to explore it in more detail, or you do have any questions, feel free to scan the QR code on screen to book a time to catch up. Otherwise, feel free to give me a bell or flick me an email, sort of old school, and we can tee up a time to catch up with you that way as well. But that's everything from us today. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you being here. Cheers.
Awesome. See you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.